How has God revealed himself? Over thousands of years, God has shown and manifested himself to man, leading him to an ever deeper understanding of his nature and his plan for the human race. This process is called revelation. A key event in the history of revelation took place about 4,000 years ago. At that time, a man called Abram lived in Haran. Haran lies in what is today southeastern Turkey. Not only were there houses in Haran, parking lots, and shopping malls, but there were temples, a lot of temples. Because back then, most people believed in many gods. There was one for fertility, one for harvest, one for rain, one for war, one for pedicure. And smack dab in the middle of this mess of divinities, Abram heard the voice of God. "Go forth into a land that I will show you." Abram trusted God. He had faith and left for Canaan. He trusted God when he was promised a son and remained faithful throughout all his trials. Abram, who came to be called Abraham, is called the father of faith in the one God. The descendants of Abraham are called Israelites. Many years later, the Israelites fell under the power of the Egyptians. A new chapter began with the well-known story of Moses. After many years of slavery, a burning bush, a Pharaoh who kept changing his mind, and many plagues, Moses led his people to freedom. Along the way back to their old homeland, God gave the Israelites the 10 Commandments and made a covenant with them. They conquered the land of their forefathers and settled down. Years came and went. Then the Israelites demanded a king and were given Saul. His unhappy rule was succeeded by David. Under David's reign and that of his son Solomon, Israel experienced a period of prosperity. The Temple of Jerusalem was built. Then the kingdom fell apart, and Israel became the pawn of its powerful neighbors. First there were the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, then the Persians, then the Greeks, then the Ptolemaics and Seleucids, and eventually they were subjected to the rule of Rome. During all these centuries, the people of God experienced a roller coaster of a history that was often painful. And through all of this, God revealed himself. That is his pedagogy. He speaks not only through his prophets, but also through the history of his people. And the people slowly began to grasp who God is. They began to understand that one could be a slave not only to the Egyptians, but to sin as well, that they also needed an exodus from the bondage to sin. They realized that their promised land could only be a pale reflection of their true heavenly home. They recognized that despite all their effort, the law will never make men truly just, that God's action is necessary for that. They realized that a Savior was needed, a Redeemer of mankind sent from above. And then 2,000 years ago, in the fullness of time, as it is said, God did act. No, a little further to the left. Jesus, the Redeemer of mankind, was born in Bethlehem. His coming was different from what many had anticipated. He was no colossal warrior or superhero ready to rumble with the Romans. He preached peace in the midst of oppression. He battled hatred with love. He gave us life by his own death. For some of the Israelites, it was clear that with the coming of Jesus, all the promises of old had been fulfilled, and they carried the message of redemption to the ends of the earth. They were soon called by the name Christian, and today they form the largest group of believers on earth. This is the short version of the history of the revelation of God. What we find is not a collection of heroic tales. We encounter holiness and sin, oftentimes in the very same person. And in between the lines of this history of saints and sinners, God reveals himself.